Our Across the Aisle segment tonight, a new poll finds that a majority of Americans believe Judge Gorsuch deserves a vote. 54% say the Senate Democrats should allow a vote on Gorsuch. Just 37% say they should not allow a vote. With me now to discuss, professor and author of Obama's America, a transformative vision of our national identity, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Always good to be here, Liz.
All right, Ian, what do you think? Does Judge Gorsuch deserve a vote?
Well, there's two things. There's what the American people think, and then there's what I think. Sometimes that's the same thing. I wish I could remember, but I'm pretty sure there was a similar percentage of Americans in favor of another judge getting a vote. That judge was Merrick Garland, and Senate Republicans did not bring him up for a vote. So I think that it's impossible to talk about Gorsuch and what he deserves without talking about Garland. No, I don't.
I don't think so. I think we can talk about the merits of who he is and his appointment. There wasn't anything illegal or unconstitutional about what the Senate Republicans did at the time, even if politically you didn't agree. I mean, just in and of itself, because of Merrick Garland, does Gorsuch not deserve a vote?
Merrick Garland deserves to be on the Supreme Court.
But he's not. He's not, and Judge Gorsuch might be. So should we vote no for the entirety of the 4 years, regardless of how many openings on the Supreme Court there are, because Merrick Garland didn't get confirmed?
Well, we can ask Ted Cruz about that. Ted Cruz said before the election that if Hillary Clinton were elected, he would support holding the Supreme Court seat of Scalia open for 4 years to make sure that Hillary Clinton couldn't nominate somebody to that seat. John McCain even went along with that. He was a pretty reasonable guy among Republicans. Republicans have destroyed, and I don't use that word lightly, destroyed the confirmation process. Did they do something unconstitutional? No, but you can tear the fabric of democracy without technically violating the Constitution. And that's what they did. They said that Barack Obama did not deserve the right to have a Supreme Court nominee considered by the Senate, let alone voted on.
Nobody ever said he didn't deserve the right. He exercised his right. In the Constitution, you know this. When it comes to the appointment or the nomination of Supreme Court justices, it's not just an appointment. You appoint by and with the consent of the Senate. That's how a nomination happens here. They didn't deny President Obama any of his constitutional authority as chief executive to appoint a justice to the Supreme Court here. But perhaps the breaking news here is that you agree with something that Ted Cruz said. I don't think that's ever happened before. But in all seriousness, doesn't deserve a vote just because you didn't like what the Republicans did for Garland. Doesn't deserve a vote.
Yeah, and it's not about what I don't like. It's about the fact that this is a serious strike against our democracy. Obama didn't have the right to put somebody on the court, but he had the right to have his nominee considered. Never before has the Senate refused to consider the nominee of a president. I mean, we could look at the examples in history. John Adams got a Supreme Court nominee approved by the Senate after he had lost the election, and Obama nominated somebody almost a year before he was going to leave office. Right. You know that Justice Kennedy was approved 10 months before Ronald Reagan left office in February of 1988.
Wait, that's because the Democrats had obstructed 2 of his prior picks. That's a little bit of a different situation. But if you want to look at history here, I mean, Democrats are talking about this 60-vote threshold that they're trying to hold Judge Gorsuch to if they filibuster, if they try to force the Republicans to use the nuclear option here. But historically, most Supreme Court justices haven't required 60 votes. I mean, just in the past few decades here, these are people sitting currently, justices currently on the Supreme Court. Justice Alito was confirmed with just 58 votes, and Justice Thomas was confirmed with just 52 votes. I mean, historically, 60 votes is an unreasonable precedent to set.
History changed last year. Mitch McConnell changed it. And
that's a double standard. Ian, that's a double standard. I mean, if we want to talk about history changing, let's look back at what Senator Schumer was the one who was talking about wanting to vote for Supreme Court nominees unanimously, and now he's changing his tune. He was the one that talked about the nuclear option not being a good thing, and then he changed and used it when it came to President Obama's nominees. I mean, that's just a straight-up double standard.
Democrats never rejected without consideration the nominee of a Republican president for the Supreme Court. And they said that the American people should decide. McConnell said, right, the American people should decide, not the Constitution, not the fact that Obama has a 4-year term, but the American people should decide. Well, they decided by about 3 million for Hillary Clinton. So if the Constitution doesn't matter, then I would argue that Hillary Clinton should be selecting the Supreme Court's nominee. That's obviously not going to happen. Look,
right? No, thank goodness, Ian. Do you disagree with the American Bar Association? They say Judge Gorsuch is highly qualified for the seat.
Justice Gorsuch is highly qualified for the seat. This is not about Justice Gorsuch. Merrick Garland was highly qualified for the seat. You can't say that what the Republicans did last year was right, okay, and then say that the Democrats then shouldn't do everything within their constitutional power to block Gorsuch from the
Well,
seat.
that's what I was asking. That was the premise of the segment. I was asking you if you agreed with the majority of Americans, or the plurality, I should say, of Americans who think that Judge Gorsuch deserves a vote, or whether you were taking a more extreme position and saying he doesn't even deserve a vote. And I guess that's the answer. You think that he shouldn't even get a vote because Merrick Garland didn't get a vote. I mean, doesn't that kind of equate to the two wrongs don't make a right if you think that's the wrong thing to do?
I don't believe that two wrongs make a right. I really have a hard
Then
time.
why would that be the right thing to do if it was the wrong thing to do with Merrick Garland?
Because what happened last year cannot be allowed to stand. It simply can't. It was so outrageous. The idea that a sitting president should not have his nominee considered by the Senate, hold the seat open, roll the dice, try to win, and steal the seat. It is such an egregious thing that Republicans should be forced to do the nuclear option in order
No,
to.
what you're saying is it's such an egregious thing, it's such an outrageous thing that makes it okay for the Democrats to do it here. I mean, wouldn't that be setting the precedent that this type of behavior, which you think, your premise is that it's inappropriate, it's going to destroy our democracy, yet you want Democrats to go ahead and do it? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Democrats typically unilaterally disarm. Typically, Republicans push the letter of the law and the letter of the Constitution as far as they can take it and take as much power as they can. And it's time for Democrats to show that they've got a spine as well, because they're fighting not just for their party, but they really are fighting for democracy. Gorsuch will be confirmed. We know this. You know this. I know this. Senator Manchin of West Virginia just announced about 15 minutes ago, I believe, that he's going to vote yes. But it's time for Republicans to go nuclear. Maybe they'll get a little bit of a nuclear fallout on them, but they deserve it, frankly.
No, and I mean, I disagree. I think that the structure, I think that the rules of the Senate are important enough that they should be held in some esteem here, that unless it's truly absolutely necessary, that they shouldn't be changed. And I think it's the Democrats' position right now. Like you said, we know that Judge Gorsuch is going to be confirmed. They shouldn't be setting this kind of precedent, especially if you think it was wrong when that happened with the Republicans.